Good morning and welcome to the 2021 GovTech Summit, coming to you live from London and The Hague. We are looking forward to sharing with you 2 days jam-packed with discussions about how technology is transforming public services, what we learned from the COVID crisis, and what we're going to do in the future, not just to build back better, but to build back digital.
Goedemorgen. I'm so excited to be here again at the GovTech Summit and picking up on what you said, building back digital. Wow. 18 months transforming public services through the adoption of new technology by governments around the world. And that is set to continue. I think the most exciting thing I've seen over the last 18 months is the emergence of real GovTech unicorns. This sector is on fire and it's going to continue.
So the summit is now in its 4th iteration, but we are going to bring to you a star-studded cast of conversations between prime ministers, ministers, officials, innovators, and investors, all of whom are going to be focusing on how they've worked with technology to transform the public services they're in charge of and what can happen in the future.
And this doesn't work without all of you connecting to all of you. If you're an investor, if you're an early stage company, if you're a civil servant, whoever you are, you will find someone over the course of these 2 days that will change your view on what is possible and will help you build back digital.
Let me just quickly thank our summit partner, Netcompany. They've been at the forefront of digitization in Denmark, and we're really looking forward to hearing some of the lessons from their experience and how that can be applied elsewhere.
Yes, thank you. But enough from us. I think that the best thing to do is to hear from our community, to hear from GovTech founders about the sorts of differences that their technology are bringing to bear.
Patchwork is developing and launching new products for workforce management that includes flexible workers as well as full-time permanent workers, ultimately bringing the principles of flexible working to all staff to improve clinician morale and ensuring that the NHS remains the employer of choice for all doctors and nurses.
GovTech is a category that I think is the most impactful way of building software, building technology that really makes a difference in people's lives. At Eva Health Technologies, we build medical records software, and we're supporting the English program to roll out possibly the biggest immunisation program that we've ever seen in the country.
Supporting GovTech means helping vulnerable people access inclusive, effective, and thoughtfully designed public services.
Element provides secure and decentralized communication solutions built on the Matrix Open Protocol. In a nutshell, we let governments and their adjacent private sector partners run their own self-sovereign encrypted collaboration platforms.
Timber Health has the ambition to democratize ear and hearing health across the globe. GovTech has helped us understand the system, navigate the system, and ultimately help us deliver care to our patients in a much more efficient way.
GovTech is a really exciting way to infuse government with innovation and new ideas and new technologies.
GovTech is important because the public sector is responsible for providing the infrastructure to make our society thrive.
Inequality has sadly never been worse than it is today, and BEAM is really looking to use technology to draw on the network effects of the community to change people's lives and create social mobility.
I think that better governance is going to be the defining issue of the 21st century. And citizens, clinicians, patients shouldn't settle for less when they're dealing with government technology.
GovTech cannot scale without upfront collaboration between GovTech providers, government agencies, knowledge institutions, and user representation.
Technology is a way for us to synthesize what already exists, but make it just so much more easily adoptable and help people really participate fully, both in the workforce and in life.
Wow, that was fantastic. Listening to people who've been at the forefront of digital transformation during the COVID crisis. And it's just a small taster of what we're going to hear over the next 2 days.
That's right. And to kick it off, we've got Public COO Hannah Johnson interviewing the Prime Minister of Estonia, Prime Minister Kallas. Hannah, let's get it started.
Hello and welcome to the first session of the GovTech Summit 2021. It's been a challenging year for governments and citizens alike, navigating repeated lockdowns and travel restrictions, delivering and accessing public services whilst maintaining social distancing, and also vaccinating and then certificating those vaccinations so that we can reopen national and international economies. But it's also been a moment to think about the future and how, once the pandemic is over, we can build back better digital public services. That's the theme of the GovTech Summit this year, and I'm delighted to be here in Tallinn to speak to Estonia's Prime Minister Kaja Kallas about those topics. Prime Minister Kallas has a long and great history and great expertise in building digital public services and in digital leadership, both in the Estonian Parliament, the European Parliament as an MEP, but also now, of course, as Prime Minister of Estonia. Prime Minister Kallas, welcome to the GovTech Summit.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to get on to the future in a minute, but I'd like to first of all think about the couple of years that we've just had. You said something at the Tallinn Digital Summit a few weeks ago that I thought really resonated. You said it matters less the size of a country and more its ability to innovate. And of course, Estonia is a prime example of that. You've been a leader in digital government services for many years. Even before the pandemic, 99.9% of government services were available online 24 hours a day. How do you feel that leadership prepared you for what was an unprecedented global event, a pandemic in the modern era?
Well, it definitely prepared us for homework because all of our services, public services, are also online, and so it was rather easy to continue everything that people were used to do, but the government and the country didn't stop. So you could file taxes, you could file declarations. We even did one additional thing, e-notaries, so you can even certify documents via online means, so that the notary sees you and all, but it's online, and I think that's one of the reasons why our economic growth has been so good. So what the companies here say is that while everybody else was locked, then they could continue and also therefore gain this competitive advantage in the world, and therefore provide services, continue with their work. So this was definitely something. The other thing that we were I think most prepared for compared to other countries was e-schooling. So we already had e-school, which meant that everything that people pupils are looking for the documents that they use for studying, but also the teachers are used to filling what are the tasks and doing this. So I think that was also, we had the infrastructure in place. But saying that, it doesn't mean that it suits everybody. It doesn't mean that we want to continue with totally distance schooling. No, definitely not, because kids are still better if they are in school.
Yeah. I think that's a huge competitive advantage, and particularly in the UK, it was, people speak of a kind of lost generation who've lost nearly 2 years while schools try to learn how to deliver educational services online. So it's a huge advantage, of course, to have had that.
Yes, that was, we didn't have to learn or build the infrastructure when we already had the crisis, because we had the infrastructure. But it is still very different. It doesn't suit all the kids, it doesn't suit all the teachers. Some were more innovative, some were more not so innovative, but I think in a bigger picture we did okay compared to other countries and educational systems there. But even so, there are elements of schooling that you just can't do digitally, even if you have everything in place.
And aside from kind of cultural difficulties or adoption and getting people to take these things up because they prefer to do them a different way, did the pandemic highlight any areas where perhaps things weren't as well advanced as they could be, or gaps that perhaps that needed to be filled?
Well, one was the notaries and certification online, so that people didn't have to come, but we were really fast to fill that gap. But I can't even point out any such big element that we didn't have. What we have to think about more and invest more is cybersecurity, of course, because as more and more services, data moves online, then also the attraction for the bad guys, so to say, to attack this, and we definitely have to keep this in mind and be learning all the time and also upgrading our systems.
And I think that probably brings us on nicely to talk about a little bit about trusted connectivity, which has been a big theme that you've championed. You've made a top theme at the Tallinn Digital Summit a few weeks ago. And I think one of the points you've highlighted there as well, particularly related to COVID, is around vaccination certificates, and how we had to scramble to work out, well, how do we come up with this certification? How can we then make sure that internationally we all trust each other, that we've created this these certificates? So could you maybe talk to us a little bit about your kind of concept of trusted connectivity? And I know you've been working with the 3 Cs initiative, perhaps some of the progress you've had there already.
Yeah. Well, trusted connectivity has 2 sides. One is the side of investing into the infrastructure. We know that globally there's a power struggle between the democracies and autocracies. So because we have totally different approach to infrastructures, to investments, to data, and every infrastructure also has a digital element, and more so. There is also this digital part that we have to know what we trust and what we don't trust. This certificates of vaccination is a good example, and it still doesn't work in a way. I see it should be like this, that we have this kind of global network that we can what we can trust and what we can't trust. For example, that I don't have to know what kind of vaccine you have, but I only have to know that your certified authority has said that you have this vaccine that is approved and you have been vaccinated. And there are so different rules that makes it all very complex and complicated. It shouldn't be like this. If it would be a global agreement on who you trust, then it would be much easier. So it has 2 sides. One is the investment part, who makes investments to the infrastructures to control one or the other part of the economy, and the other part is the digital part of it, the digital element of this. So how do we really trust, and whom do we trust with our data? And so I think the like-minded countries, the transatlantic cooperation there, but also in the specific Squad countries regarding this trusted connectivity should cooperate in this regard, because it's a fight between autocracies and democracies, and we can't afford to lose that fight, really.
And how do we build that consensus? Because even amongst liberal democracies, and particularly thinking transatlantically, countries have different values about things like data privacy. So how do we build that consensus? How do we bring people together behind common standards there?
Well, I think we should start with baby steps and small things that we definitely can agree on, which is easier, and then move to topics which are more difficult. Data being one of those. Data privacy. How do we really address data issues? Privacy being a basic right in some countries, and not so big issue in other countries. But I think there are still common values that we share in democracies. So these have to be kept in mind, so that we can move on with this, with the baby steps that we can do. First, to have this kind of trademark or what is the right word? Well, to have this mark that this is either this blue dot network that thrives to have this kind of trust that okay, these are the infrastructures that we can trust because they can comply with the same values that we all have agreed on. So I think there are different elements to it, what we can move forward to.
And you brought together ministers from around Europe and the world at the Tallinn Digital Summit a few weeks ago. What was their reaction? How much willing do you find amongst other leaders to prioritise this?
Yes, first of all, I think what is good is that the leaders definitely see this problem. And what is also good is that it's not too late to react and start to look at this in a similar way. I mean, investing into infrastructure is a very good example. 3C's initiative is to overcome the gap in investment that Eastern and Central European countries had because we were behind the Iron Curtain. So if there is a gap in investment, then who is investing in those infrastructure? What we see already in Africa, that China is buying or investing more to those infrastructures, but also having control over this. And there this kind of competition, global competition, is maybe already to the other side. So the reaction is everybody acknowledges the problem and also that we have to cooperate here, which is good because there are definite problems that are rising. What is Estonia's role, or could be a small country's role, is to have this or be this mediator, because nobody suspects that we want to take over the world because we are small and we don't have that kind of ambition. We can be the mediator, we can be the negotiator, or also the country that provides solutions to move forward, to bring together the big ones as well to move together in a direction that we want to go.
Yeah. Well, to move on to another area where Estonia are leading the world, I'd love to talk a little bit about your digital testbed framework initiative, which was launched again at the Tallinn Digital Summit a few weeks ago. And it's a pretty bold and unique proposition where Estonia is saying, come use the legal framework that we've built, use some of the building blocks that we have, and build some digital services. In return, we'll get to use them, but you can then go and replicate them elsewhere. How did this come about? It's pretty unique.
Well, this idea came when we talked to different leaders around the world, and very often they start to invent the bicycle from zero, but they shouldn't, because we have already tested such things. So this idea is like having this kind of Lego blocks that you can build your digital society on. And sometimes, very often, I get this argument that, well, it's easy for you because you're a small country, but consider this as a prototype. If it works on a smaller scale, it can also work on a bigger scale. So and we thought, why don't we take the governmental services into blocks and help other countries with those. For example, digital identity. Okay, we have the system. You can take this as an example, and you don't have to create your own. And some other countries maybe have some other services well developed. So why don't we use those blocks? Because again, globally, I think everybody is better off if we are sharing this information and really building the societies in globally everywhere. What is also important, I think, to understand is that sometimes I'm also asked that why why are your services so digital and why is the government there? But my answer to this is that people are there. People are using online services for buying their buying their food, buying their clothes. They are socializing on the internet. They are doing everything there. They're living their own lives. So if the government or the state is not there, then you just alienate from your people because they don't understand that I can do everything that I need in my life except for governmental services where I have to go at a certain time to a place and I'm working at this time and they only have the working hours and I have to take myself off from work to go to get the simple errand run and why is that so difficult? Why can't it be much easier?
Yeah, it's really a case of putting the citizen first.
Absolutely.
And I completely agree. Your point about not reinventing the bicycle, not having common building blocks is so important. And while we think about the international audience, because the GovTech Summit brings together ministers, officials, startups, investors, all in GovTech from around the world. Whilst they're gathered here, what would be your kind of overall message to them for how they can think about building back better digital services?
First of all, is not going away. Digital revolution is already, happening for so many years, and everything needs to be digital as well. It doesn't mean that you're not rendering services in a physical format, but you have to think about the digital element. The other thing that has to go hand in hand with the developing of those services is the cybersecurity part, and this is getting more and more important. It's very hard for people, politicians, to sell this to audience because it's not something really visible, but it's visible when the systems don't work or the data is hacked. Therefore, you have to invest there as well because it's the foundation that has to be strong. And the third element of this is that I think the like-minded countries should also exchange information about different services, different good practices, but also when the services have been hacked and they have been cyber breached, because we only learn from our mistakes, but also others' mistakes or the breaches that have been there. So we are all stronger together if we share this.
Fantastic. Well, Prime Minister Kallas, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be really looking forward to watching how things develop in Estonia and seeing you take that convening role in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.